Welcome back to the Daniel Driver YouTube channel. It's where we talk about scuba diving, dive travel, dive equipment, all things scuba diving. Today we're going to talk about Red Sea and not the typical places that you're used to hearing about, Sharm el Sheikh and Thistlegorm and stuff like that. If you keep going around the Sinai Peninsula, don't go down the Gulf or the inlet towards Aqaba Jordan, you reach Aqaba, and there's a lot of amazing dive sites in there. And our cruise ship back in April 2019 pulled into Aqaba, and I decided to go diving instead of going to Petra and the Dead Sea Scrolls and all that kind of stuff. I kind of took over my dive love, and I decided to dive in the Red Sea because that's what you do when you're a scuba diver. So we're going to look at some maps and how to get there, how I got there, the lay of the land, where things are, and talk about the dive operation. Deep Blue Divers is who I hired to guide me through a couple of different dive sites there. I dove on the Cedar Pride wreck, and then after that went to Japanese Gardens. So I had a couple of great dives there, as well as got to mingle with a lot of cool people there from different parts of the world. Lots of people from France there, lots of people from Egypt. So it was a lot of fun. We'll talk about the Cedar Pride a little bit. We'll talk about Japanese Gardens, and hopefully one day you too can make it there. It'll inspire you to go to the Red Sea and enjoy some of the clearest high-vis waters in the world. So here's the first picture where we're going to look at Google Maps and the route that our cruise ship took to get into this area, which also helps you orientate yourself as where things are and where it sits relative to Sharm el Sheikh, if you already know where Sharm el Sheikh is. So you see the blue line at the top going down through Port Said, down through the Suez Canal, which we did, and past Suez, coming out into the Gulf of Suez, and then going around the horn of the Sinai Peninsula, past Sharm el Sheikh, down into the Gulf of Aqaba, and right where the red circle is where Aqaba and the dive sites are. So here we are on the second shot. We're looking at satellite photo of the end of the Gulf of Aqaba, and we can see the city of Aqaba in Jordan, and I've got it circled in blue and marked as number 1. And our cruise ship pulled into the area, the cruise terminal, where it's marked as number 2. So you go north to get to Aqaba, and the operation, Deep Blue Divers, where I had to go. I took a cab out to this little gated community, which is marked as number 3 and circled in red. And that's also where the Deep Blue Divers are. They've got an office near the marina, in front of the marina. It's a little confusing because they've got an office in front of the marina, and that's where their sort of storefront is. However, it's kind of their administration office. It's not it's not where you go with your dive gear and all that kind of stuff. So you really want to head to the beach. So just once you get into the gated community, head for the beach, and you'll find it in amongst some of the other businesses right on the beach. And that's where they'll get your gear organized. Very friendly folks, very reasonable prices there for the dives. I think it was about 95 Jordanian dinar for 2 dives. So that includes all your equipment and the dive, and it also includes a nice barbecued lunch on the boat. And of course, you get to meet all the people, and you're diving in the Red Sea. So it's all thumbs up. Okay, so here's our inset picture for the Cedar Pride wreck. Now, the Cedar Pride wreck was a, what kind of vehicle? It was a cargo vehicle, pardon me, and 74 meters, and it was purposefully scuttled in 1985 as a dive reef and artificial reef. And so it lays across, you can see in the picture here, it lays across a couple of reefs. And if you look closely at the sand that goes underneath it there, you can actually swim underneath the wreck. And in the video, you can see us swimming underneath the wreck there. And then we sort of curl around. So we were actually dropped down close to the reef on the right-hand side. And in the bottom right or middle right, that's kind of where the buoy is. And so we dropped down there and we swam along towards the bow of the reef and then along the side of it until we got to the sand there where it says 25 meters. And then we dove underneath the wreck, and then we started to head north again towards the cargo hold in the middle of the reef area. And then underneath, it's on its side, so it's lying on its left shoulder. I guess that's the starboard side. It's lying on, I guess. And I probably got that wrong. And so anyway, or no, port side, I guess. Starboard's right side, right? Anyway, won't worry about that. Left side. And so you can come up actually underneath inside the hold, and there's an airspace up there, which of course you don't breathe in there, but it's kind of fun to go up there and hoot and holler and, you know, put your reg back in your mouth and that sort of thing afterwards. And we do that in the video as well, just for fun. But it's a beautiful wreck when you come back out of there and you can see the bow and the clear water. It's just it's a great place to take a wide angle shot. So the video really looks nice when we come out of that airspace and we go around to the front of the boat. And the other divers are in front for perspective, so it's a wonderful, you know, to get wreck shots that clear is pretty rare, so it's really wonderful. So after a nice lunch, we went to our second dive, which is a much shallower dive. It's called Japanese Gardens, and it's named after it was a Japanese marine biologist who was there who discovered the area, so they called it Japanese Gardens. Very beautiful, not very deep. It's reef meets white sand. It's very idyllic. Many different kinds of coral there. Lots of bubble coral and things like that that you don't necessarily see too much in the Caribbean. So it's kind of nice to see that sort of thing, and lots of eels and nudibranchs and things like that, and even found a crown of thorns being consumed by a triton snail, which is extremely rare. So to see it anyways, because there's so few of them and so many of those crown of thorns. Not in these areas; they're all endemic here. So they belong here, so they're controlled by the tritons. Whereas in other parts of the world, like Australia, they're basically out of control invasive species. So anyway, it's a great finisher dive, good decomp dive.